You're watching The Mom View, sponsored by the Herzog Foundation. It wasn't that long ago that doctors had no clue how to help children deal with traumatic illnesses like cancer. They could address their physical needs, but when it came to their emotional pain and trauma, resources were scarce to non-existent. It took a pediatric oncology nurse with a call on her life from God to develop the Moodsters. You'll find out who they are today. Then, a CEO and a mom of 5 is uncovering the real reasons why some women choose abortion, and you'll be surprised at her discoveries. That's all coming up today on The Mom View. Well, welcome to The Mom View. So glad that you're joining us. I'm Debbie Krolitis.
And I'm Vanessa Fora.
And Kimberly Fletcher.
All right. Well, ladies, we are back on the set talking moods.
Moods. You should not talk to women about moods.
Or their kids' moods.
Moods. Well, I'm pretty excited about this upcoming guest because
Yes,
I don't really know. How do you talk to children about trauma or being afraid? Or I think she's come up with a pretty good way to communicate with kids, and we need to stop thinking that they understand like adults.
Right. Sad. All those emotions that I think our kids are even dealing with more because of social media or because of tragedies or sickness. We've got one of the sickest populations right now for our children. So they're dealing with a lot more. And how do we do that? You have 8 kids, Kimberly.
I do. And validating. You need to validate their feelings. And that's something that I learned probably a little too late for my last 3. But it was very helpful because my youngest daughter, she just had a really, really difficult time communicating how she felt. She would say things that she didn't mean. She would explode when she shouldn't. I took it personally for a long time. Mm-hmm. But then when I realized, okay, first of all, she doesn't know how to say what's actually wrong. Mm-hmm. And then when she was able to, I needed to say how I thought she felt, or feeling angry or sad, and then validate, okay, you know what? You have every right to feel upset about that. Yeah. Now tell me how we can work this out. And it helped tremendously, just validating their feelings, because I think as adults sometimes we're like, get over it,
right.
And they don't know how to just get over it.
This is why it's great to have shows like The Mom View, right? Because we know as mothers that we are not trained, we're not born trained to raise children, and programs like these has great educational resources that we can share with moms so that we can be better, do better, and help our kids.
Yep.
That's the whole goal.
We carry them, we birth them, but we just need a little bit of help
on how to raise them.
All right. Moms have different ways of handling the emotions of their kids in everyday life. But when children are ill or otherwise traumatized, they need special help to process their internal worlds. We'll talk to the creator of fun, innovative toys and resources that provide comfort and care for kids. Coming up next.
The Herzog Foundation exists to catalyze and accelerate the development of quality, Christ-centered K-12 education so that families and culture flourish. To do so, we've created comprehensive programs designed for Christian schools across the nation. One of those programs is found at readlion.com. The Lion carries news articles covering issues especially related to the education of children. These are timely, critical, must-read articles for families, educators, and leaders. Another program is the Herzog Foundation Institute, where we provide training for Christian educators led by national thought leaders in subjects such as marketing, donor development, and culture building. All training events are fully funded by the Herzog Foundation. And finally, with new Christian schools popping up all over the country, we've created a free online resource to help with the process. HF Schoolbox provides lessons and free mentorship to help launch groups navigate the startup process every step of the way. We're the Herzog Foundation. You can find out more at herzogfoundation.com.
There is power in being a mom because we truly care. Nobody's going to care more about your children than you. And that's what this group is about, is real women getting together to fight real battles for our country.
Moms for America is a national movement of moms reclaiming our culture for truth, family, freedom, and the Constitution.
And I will tell you, I'm a journalist, but I am a mama bear. and I am a mama bear till the last breath in my body. And that's the most important thing I've ever done with my life.
Never, never underestimate the mother who's protecting her child. She will outfight fear. She will outlast danger, and she will outlove the world. And you surely do not mess with Mama Bear.
You can't push anything on our kids. We will stand up for our kids no matter what the consequences may be.
Moms for America is one of the most important organizations in saving our republic.
There are eyes, there are ears, and they're the most fierce fighters for our kids that we will ever know.
Every mission has two parts, those who give and those who do. And when we come together, we are stronger together in fulfilling that mission. An investment in Moms for America is an investment in the future. And we literally hold the future of America in our hands.
Denise Daniels spent 3 decades as a pediatric oncology nurse. What she learned from her young patients about trauma, bereavement, and dying changed the course of her life. Mentored by many, including the beloved Mr. Rogers, who said, "What's mentionable is manageable," Denise created the Moodsters, lovable toy characters that correspond to a mood or an experience that kids can relate to. Well, welcome, Denise, to the Mom View. We're so glad to have you and all of your friends, all of the Moodsters on set with us here, ladies.
Colorful friends, for sure.
It's crowded on the couch today. Thank you for having me.
Well, tell us about the Moodsters, how you got started and why you thought this was important.
Well, many years ago, about 35 years ago, I was working with children in our church, leading grief support groups. And at that time, children weren't really talking about grief, and adults weren't either, and some adults still aren't talking about grief. But I really felt there was a need in our congregation to be able to provide support services. So my first class, or my first group of children, there were about 30 kids that signed up right away. About 6 weeks later, there was 140 on the waiting list. So that just spoke to my heart, and I really felt like, you know, this is something that I'm being called to do. It was something that was very important to me. I had worked with pediatric patients for a number of years, and what I found is that the kids that were dying were so courageous. And many times the children didn't want to let their parents know that they knew that they weren't going to be here a lot longer. They were protecting their parents. And so I really learned so much about children having that experience. And it really was my way of being prepared for the next stage of where I was supposed to be with kids. And so realizing that there weren't good resources out there. This is how I started working with Mr. Rogers. I could not find any tools or anyone to talk to about, okay, we need to develop a methodology of bereavement to work with children. And the very first person I called was Mr. Rogers. And he, you know, he's a Presbyterian minister.
Oh,
you probably know that.
I did not know that.
I don't know if people know that, but I have to say that. But
And some of the young people don't know who Mr. Rogers is either.
I know him. I knew him for years. He's a wonderful, faith-filled man. And I just picked up the phone. He took my call. I told him what I was doing, and he said, "How can I help?" And I said, "Would you help me develop a board of directors? But I really need help on how to talk to kids about death and dying." And, you know, I couldn't have had a better teacher. He had already done, and you all are too young. So
I'm not. I grew up on Mr. Rogers.
Do you remember Death of a Goldfish?
I do remember that.
So we're about the same age then.
I remember that one.
But he wrote a book called Death of a Goldfish, and he did a segment on that to talk to children about death. He was the first one. He was a pioneer in the field of grief and loss with kids. And that's where I really learned that what's mentionable is manageable. Because he'd always say that to me, because I'd say, you know, I've got these kids, and one of the things we were working on was the State Department called and said, "Would you prepare mothers that were being deployed for the first time in American history?" And it was a calling. It was something that was very important. I traveled all around the world and talked to military moms, preparing them to be separated, for who knows if they were ever coming back.
Right.
And it really was grief and loss. So I felt like, again, I was being prepared for what else I was supposed to be doing as well. So we continued our work. We started the very first crisis intervention teams in schools. We trained judges in the judicial system because they work with a lot of juveniles in family court. And we knew that when somebody needed us, we needed to be there. So I started a nonprofit, and we outgrew it very, very quickly. And then the Today Show came knocking on my door because it's such a bizarre story. I know, you wouldn't
the Today
believe
Show
it.
just calls,
This is my life, actually. But so they called, and Katie Kirk had said, would you like to come to the Today Show and do a segment on childhood bereavement? And there was a movie out called That Girl, I think is what it was called, or something, where a child had lost their mother. So I was a spokesperson for the movie, and then so I was working at the Today Show, and then I was invited to come over and host my own parenting show at CNBC, and I co-hosted a parenting show with Steve Doocy. But in the meantime, Steve Doocy from Fox. Okay, we co-hosted a show for a couple of years together, and then Pfizer Pediatrics came to me and said, would you like to work with our oncology doctors and develop a training program for them? So I developed a program called First Aid for Feelings, and this was right after doing all of these visits to military moms around the country, and then 9/11 happened, and
another
we got
opportunity,
called in, and it just seemed that there were so many. I mean, we worked with, the school that was down, right there, down in the middle of everything, and children had saw their parents jumping out of windows and stuff. So, and then we got called in by the State Department to do the tsunami in Southeast Asia. And I have a wonderful team. I don't go by myself. I mean, I've worked with Yale for almost 37 years now. We've had a great partnership because I do my research there. Everything we do for kids, we want to give them the best we possibly can.
I don't think we look at our kids' emotions enough. We think of us as parents' emotions, but how do you work through emotions with your kids?
Well, another thing is that we tend to look at children as adults.
Yes.
And so we expect them to react the way we would react as adults. We forget that they're children. They're not going to react that same way.
And the interesting thing about kids that we've learned in our research is children grieve differently than adults. And so they grieve intermittently. And what happens is the child may look really happy at one moment if they've experienced a loss, and the next moment they'll be slumped over in a chair watching TV. And so we really, as parents, need to look at how a child is feeling and making sure they're not overlooked. Because when you go through a funeral and families around and all the Jello Brigade is what I call them, when people are coming to your house and their intentions are really good, but then you never see them again. And so kids oftentimes are overlooked, and parents don't know, grown-ups I like to say, but don't really know what childhood grief looks like. So, and from there we kind of started working with mental health and children's emotions from all over the world, and we were getting deployed to work in refugee camps.
Amazing.
I did some work with the First Lady, well, a few First Ladies, but Mrs. Bush was the older Bush family, had invited me to the White House to speak, and then they asked me to travel with 8 congressional wives and senators' wives to do needs assessments of orphans in third world countries. So,
you have done it all.
Yeah. So
really?
all of
I'm
these
100 years old.
Okay.
So you have to know there's a lot of good makeup on here today.
So
but
all of these things led to the Moodsters.
these little guys.
So how does this work exactly?
Okay. So when I was working in the church and leading support groups, I looked everywhere for tools. We had a really good curriculum that we were using, and we were having great results in collecting data and so forth, because we worked with Yale in their Yale Child Study Center. But I felt like I needed some tools that I could use with the children I was seeing in the group, and there was nothing out there. I mean, I looked everywhere. So I thought, being a firstborn child, that I would just do it myself.
There
How
you
hard
go.
can that be?
I love that.
But fortunately, I worked with Martha Stewart on the Today Show, and she taught me how to use a hot glue gun. And I started creating like a Moodster mirror so children could look in the mirror and see what their facial expressions were. Because teaching kids about emotions is as simple as teaching them how to tie their shoes. And I can say right now, so many moms across America are concerned about their kids.
Sure. Yeah.
And they're worried about, they're feeling overwhelmed. And I want to give parents hope. That's not bad behavior if kids are acting out and they're having temper tantrums or they're really struggling. It's because they haven't learned the skills.
They don't know how to communicate.
No, they
We're
don't
supposed
know
to be
how to do-
teaching them.
Right.
Yes.
And they need help.
So if kids grow up in a family where the parents aren't really, sharing their feelings and they're not using feelings words, the child isn't going to be able to learn either. And we say teaching kids about emotion starts at birth. And that's really important to know. Empathy, you start teaching it the day, if you've ever been in a nursery when babies are all crying at the same time, that's the beginning of empathy. If one baby cries, the next baby cries. And so the neural pathways are there. And it's up to us to develop those. And it's up to us to teach those skills. So I started developing the very first iteration of the Moodsters. They looked like Mr. Potato Heads. They weren't very good and they were ugly, but the kids didn't care.
Was this the first one you did?
No.
No.
This is probably the third iteration. But, working with Yale, we chose all the colors and everything we did was very intentional because we wanted to be able to say to parents and to hospitals and the doctors I was training, we wanted to be able to say everything we do is evidence-based. It's based on science, but it's fun for kids. And I've always followed the 3 E's, and that is you can teach children if what you do is engaging. Number 2, it's entertaining. And number 3, it's educational. And then we could always add 4, prayer. Pray. And so I always felt that, that this is what we're supposed to do. And when I developed a program for Pfizer, for their doctors, it launched in over 200 pediatric units across the country, then I knew in my heart, because doctors came back and said, the doctors that used the Moodster characters, the Mr. Potato Head version, came back and said that when the doctors talked to them about grief and loss before they had a complicated medical procedure, those children sustained shorter hospitalization and required less pain medication.
Wow.
So in my heart, I knew that this is
something.
what I needed to do. And so,
when was this, Denise?
oh gosh,
program
it
was
was
initiated?
in the 80s then, I think.
Okay.
And I was still working for the Today Show as a parenting expert. I was the very first one for the Today Show, and so I was still working with the government, the Pentagon, because a wonderful gentleman who's a really neat Christian guy, he was a Joint Chiefs of Staff, and I met him on an airplane. He sat next to me. It was John Vesey. General John Vesey, 4-star general. And when he found out what he did, he brought me to the Pentagon and he introduced me to people. So that was, honestly, it just sounds like I'm making it up, but it was just, I was just
Like the Forrest Gump. You're like everywhere.
So you did the stuffed
in a
animals.
lot of ways.
You did the stuffed animals.
Characters.
Right, characters.
Well, tell us what
So-
they are. What
this
what
is
each one
to meet 'em.
means.
So each one is an emotion.
Yes.
And unlike other movies and wonderful projects that teach kids emotions, we really wanted to do it with science. So we brought 40 psychologists into the Yale Child Study Center. And Dr. Mark Brackett, who's chief of the Yale Study on Emotional Intelligence, partnered with me, and Robin Stern. They were the founders of the center at Yale. And we chose their colors for purpose. We collected data. We did studies on children in their laboratory to see which characters the kids related to the most. We have a Moodster meter. I don't know if we have it here today.
The Moodster
But-
meter?
No, it's anyway.
We have
I'll-
Moodsters.
We got
If you
Moodsters.
go on our website,
Yeah.
the Moodsters Children's Foundation.org, you can see what it is. But we made these giant Moodster meters, and they have the characters down one side and then the emotion on the other. So the child can move the mercury to whatever they're feeling. So it's really, it's become part of this whole
That's awesome.
whole brand.
So who are you holding? What
So-
emotion is that?
So this is Tully.
Tully.
Yes, this is Tully.
And that's fear?
So he's afraid.
We have to think.
And this one?
This is Lolly.
Okay.
And she, what
And
emotion?
she's loving.
Loving.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
She's a loving character.
And he looks kind of angry.
she,
She.
I made her an angry female because
Ah.
I felt that little girls they weren't always respected when they were angry. And so we teach them strategies, simple strategies for expressing their emotions. That's a great thing about Moodsters. And then Kaz is the happy one. And the
Kaz does look
sad
happy.
one is the blue one over there.
No.
That's Snorf. And the other one is Afraid. And we had to change colors on some of the characters because they didn't
So you have
fit.
two afraid?
Well, no. I'm sorry.
So
This
the-
one's afraid, that one's calm. And we had to add,
Oh.
Okay.
because, we're living in such a crazy world right now.
Right.
It's so complex, it's upended
It sure
after,
is.
and so we added another meditation character, and he does meditation, and he does prayer. and
Meaning
he
calm?
does, pardon
Is
me?
this one here?
Yes.
Is that the one you're talking
that
about?
one. And he
The
calms.
colors have anything to do with their mood, or
Did what?
the colors?
Oh yes, everything is color-based. Everything
Okay.
is color-based. We have a very dense curriculum on emotional literacy and resilience. We learned after the research we did following COVID is the next part of what we needed to do with kids is to teach them resilience. So we always say in Moodsterville, we say, that we teach children not to bounce back, but to bounce forward.
Oh.
And that is something that it's just one of our guidelines of everything we do. We teach kids how to bounce
Which one
forward.
is the most popular?
That's a good question.
Because I would
Someone
just
else
think-
on the couch asked me that
Yeah,
question
because
And the
too.
least popular.
Well,
yeah, and
so
the least, I mean, you would know. I guess this is revealing your science. Which one is the kids drawn to?
They're really characters that will tell parents. They send messages.
Yeah.
That like, this is how I'm feeling.
Right.
And even if they don't have the cognitive capacity, and maybe they don't have the verbal skills to be able to express it, all they have to do is point to these characters. What we found out, and this wasn't intentional, what we found out about children that were autistic and on the spectrum, so many mothers were asking for
use
the
this.
Moodsters to use it with their
I could see
kids.
that.
So that was like just a golden thing that happened. God always has a purpose.
Well, then older, you could, people with dementia or autism in older ages, that would help them too.
And our Moodster meter.
So is this the Moodster meter that we were just talking to? I got it handed over to me on the set
Well, we
here.
have several versions of it. That is the toy version.
Okay.
We never call our toys toys. We call them tools because they're all therapeutic to work with kids. But we don't tell the kids they're therapeutic. We just tell them they're fun toys. But we also have a Moodster meter that's about 4 feet tall that we had made. We have it translated into different languages because when we worked with the Ukrainian children in the refugee camps in Italy, we had it translated in for the educators who spoke Italian. It was in English for our crew, and then also in the language of, yes.
How
So one
impressive.
question before we go. Tell me what you're feeling. Which character do you resonate with today?
This
Just
one.
today. This one, Lovey.
Yeah.
Okay. I love this one.
I do. I
Girls
like her
love that
too.
speak. Okay.
What are you feeling?
Are you calm?
Yes, I'd say calm.
Calm. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm leaning towards the pink as well.
Are you more frazzled? What are you feeling?
This one is
That's cause he's the lead detective. They're all detectives, and I probably should have said that right off the bat, but they're all detectives, and they solve the mysteries of kids' emotions.
So there's not really a favorite among them. It's however they're feeling at the time.
At the time. And that's when parents need to ask them how they feel and say, you know, your face tells me that you might be angry. Is there something that's bothering you? Then you want to validate that feeling. Always don't forget that step, because it's easy to forget.
Denise, what can you give us a little bit more about the ages, like the age range? Like how
When we
old
tested,
is too old for these types
well,
of
I
exercises?
don't think you're ever too old, actually, but a lot of older siblings that are teenagers, when they see their younger sibs, you know, with these or reading this book, you know, we've got all these great books like The Scary Sleep. I mean, they are just great. So the older kids will read the stories to their younger siblings, and I've had teenagers write me saying, you know, I'm going through a hard time. Could you send me some Moodsters? And if you go to our website, you can download them, because we donate what we do. We're out of these right now because of COVID, and they're being made. But if anybody goes to our website, they can pre-order them. It's the Moodsters Children's Foundation.org.
The Moodsters Children Foundation.org, and you give them away, and you can pre-order whatever you don't have.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I hope
that's incredible, actually.
So get your Moodsters today.
Yes.
Thank you for what you're doing. I mean,
sure.
All moms need all the tools in the toolbox to help our kids.
Yes, and children do too.
Yeah.
They need our love, our security. They need to feel, you know, that they're supported. So, like Mr. Rogers used to say, look for the helpers.
Look for the helpers.
Right? All right.
Well, I'm taking my love.
Oh no, she's gonna take them all home with her. Okay.
I feel love.
Alrighty, thank you so much for joining
us.
We so appreciate what you're doing.
Very noble cause.
Thank you, honey.
All right, well, right after this break, we'll learn more about some groundbreaking research on why women choose abortion, and the research about the men involved in that decision too. You might be surprised on what you'll learn. That's all coming up next on The Mom View.
Hello, I'm Josh Mann, Managing Editor of The Lion. The Lion is an initiative of the Herzog Foundation, and we publish articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture, especially related to the education of children. In covering these topics, we also touch on aspects of parenting, family life, faith, government, and other relevant cultural topics. We publish news stories every day aiming to produce timely, critical, must-read news articles and resources for families, educators, and leaders. Read the latest in education and cultural news at readlion.com. We also offer easy-to-digest daily and weekly email newsletters. Subscribe today at readlion.com/subscribe.
There is power in being a mom because we truly care. Nobody's going to care more about your children than you. And that's what this group is about, is real women getting together to fight real battles for our country.
Moms for America is a national movement of moms reclaiming our culture for truth, family, freedom, and the Constitution.
And I will tell you, I'm a journalist, but I am a mama bear. And I am a mama bear till the last breath in my body. And that's the most important thing I've ever done with my life.
Never, never underestimate the mother who's protecting her child. She will outfight fear. She will outlast danger. And she will outlove the world. And you surely do not mess with Mama Bear.
You can't push anything on our kids. We will stand up for our kids no matter what the consequences may be.
Moms for America is one of the most important organizations in saving our republic.
There are eyes, there are ears, and they're the most fierce fighters for our kids that we will ever know.
Every mission has two parts, those who give and those who do. And when we come together, we are stronger together in fulfilling that mission. An investment in Moms for America is an investment in the future. And we literally hold the future of America in our hands.
Brandy Meeks is the CEO and president of Vitae Foundation. They facilitate life-saving research and then create pro-life messages to change people's hearts and minds on abortion. Wow, how interesting is this? And welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here with you ladies today.
I know. Well, I mean, just real quick, you've been in the pro-life ministry
It's
arena.
probably been almost 15 years now. Like, it seems like a lifetime ago, quite seriously. But I've been working, leading Vitae Foundation for about the past 4 years.
And it's a fascinating foundation. It's completely different than anybody else in the pro-life sphere. And I think it helps us greatly, but I'm just going to tell you what I told you before the show. You seriously depressed me.
Aww.
but it's truth. It's truth that we need to know. But it is tragic because one of the things that you found out is that women, girls, they know now. It's no longer my body, my choice. It's my baby. I can kill it.
Yeah.
And that is just devastating to me that our culture has gotten to that point. Yeah. But it is information that we have to know if we're going to be able to counter what's happening in our culture with these babies.
That's right. And I hate that it breaks our hearts, but I'm grateful that it still breaks our hearts, right? Because we haven't become desensitized to it the way that much of our culture has. And so that's part of what we do is help raise awareness about the issue, but be able to connect to hearts and minds on the issue, be able to pull people in off the fence. People who normally would say, I personally wouldn't choose abortion, but I don't want to make that decision for someone else. We want to connect with their hearts and minds too and help them be able to embrace life as the gift that it truly is.
I think that's the most important thing about what you're doing is if we understand why they're acting the way they are. And so a couple of things that that got me, aside from that one, is that adoption is at the bottom of the list.
Ooh, that's hard, isn't it?
So
I'm so surprised on that.
Yeah, these girls and women who are going through this, it's like adoption isn't even an option. It's like the worst thing you can do. How did we get to that place, and how do we reach them with messaging that's going to help them see that it's not a good choice to kill the baby?
Right. That ending the life of the child is not the answer, right? It's not the solution. But when they're in that, what we call the now moment, when they're making that decision, they are faced, when people say choose life, they're thinking, whose life, right? The life of this child that I'm carrying, or my life that's going to be over? That's what they feel like in that moment. And perception is reality for them, right? And so when you were talking about being able to understand where they're coming from, that's what gives us compassion for people. That's what allows us to be able to have grace, right? The ideal would be that abortion wouldn't exist. But when the ideal is not possible, grace must abound. Right. And so when we can fill in with grace and compassion, we're able to bring them along in this journey so that then they might choose life for their child and they might choose adoption. But for adoption to be low ranking on that, they have a lot of fears. And a lot of fears that they identified in some of our past studies. And what's great about our studies is that the longevity, the shelf life of it is endless because it's timeless. Because it's not surveys of polling, right? It's consumer research. We get to the heart of the matter to understand the emotional drivers that impact decision making.
Could I just ask you, when you're saying the data, who are you interviewing? Are these gals that are in a crisis pregnancy and they're giving you this data for your research?
Each study has been different throughout the years, right? We've been doing research for over 25 years now. The organization has existed for even longer, but really what it determines what we're going for in a study, then we decide what kind of sample size we're looking for and who exactly we're looking to interview. So it's varied, right? Sometimes it's the general public, sometimes it's women who've had abortions. In fact, one of our recent studies was women who have had abortions and they were both pro-life and pro-choice. One of the most interesting things to come out of that is that we had women who were pro-abortion saying that they resented when men said, I'll support you no matter what you choose.
Wow.
What? Right?
We always thought that was what they wanted to hear.
It throws the whole blame and responsibility back on the woman.
That's right.
So what should we be telling them then? What should the men be telling them?
Well, it can be something as high level as, I'm not sure what this looks like, but I'm going to help you be the best mom possible, and I'll be the best dad possible, and we'll figure this out together. right?
Okay.
It doesn't have to be, we're going to run off and get married. It doesn't have to be, a full commitment when it comes, ideally it is, but she just needs to know she's supported.
Right.
Because if he tells her that I'll support you no matter what you choose, our society has conditioned us to think that that is the compassionate thing to say. Right?
Well, it takes all of the power and voice away from the man.
Right. Well, it does. And in our culture, you have seen that we have completely emasculated men.
Yeah, right.
We have told them to sit down and shut up on this issue. You have no say. And you know what? They did.
Yeah.
They have. And so now we recently did a men's study as well. After we found this out, we rolled into a men's study where we did interview men who've had abortion experiences themselves, some that were that wanted their child, some that wanted abortion, and some that just know about the issue just from a high level, right? And we were able to interview and understand their decision making as well. And they will tell you there were two, I remember, very vivid examples of men who said, when we told them that women don't want to hear that I'll support you no matter what you choose, they said, well, damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Right, they don't know what to do, huh?
Guys,
Yeah.
for a long time we focused on the baby, right? We focused on the baby. And while that made us feel good as pro-lifers, because we do see the innocent, sweet little baby that's life is robbed from them when abortion takes place, we did research and we discovered that we needed to talk to her about her. So we shifted and we started focusing on the woman. And that was great because, again, we could see her. She didn't feel like we were looking past her just at the child that she was carrying in her womb.
That's a very good point.
Right? We were connecting with her. We were meeting her physical needs because that's how Christ served us, right? Jesus came and he met our physical needs first. He healed people. And then he said, take up your mat, follow me, right? And so if we can do that with women, we have the opportunity to really be able to see them for who they are. And guess what? More often than not, they choose life. Now, we have discovered that there's a gap, and it's the men. So because so many men have been removed from this equation, they have been silenced. This was an intentional messaging ploy by the other side. They have been pursuing this strategy for quite some time. In fact, we were sharing before the show, I used to work for Abby Johnson. I have a lot of really great women and men, but a lot of women that worked in the abortion industry that I call my friends. They have been redeemed, they have come to the other side, and they realize what they were doing wrong. And they will share that they did anything to try to keep the man out of that appointment. Anything. Ladies, they would go so far as when they are scheduling to try to make sure, like, you can come alone, come by yourself, they would turn up the heat in the waiting room. So when the men were in the waiting room waiting on their partner to be called, or for them to be called back for the appointment, they would sometimes go to their cars because they were so uncomfortable. And when the staff would come out from the appointment to say that they came out to get the man and he's no longer there, they go back and report to the woman, we don't know where he went.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So she feels abandoned. What do you think she's going to do?
Right.
But when a man steps up and is a part of an ultrasound, when a man steps up and says, again, I don't know what this looks like, but I'll help you be the best mom possible and I'll be the best dad possible, lives are changed and lives are saved because she feels supported.
Now, how do you get that to the men? How do you get this message out?
That's a great question, and that's what we're working on right now. So at Vitae Foundation, we really focus on influencing the influencers. And you might say, social media influencers, but we're talking about everyday influencers. These are our pastors that have this natural conduit system of who they're reaching on a regular basis. So we would love to be able to work with more churches. We love to be able to work with policymakers. We work with Christian counselors. How many times do they have people that come in, right? And not just women, but men who've had abortion experiences in their life and their lives have spun out of control after that. If they can pin it back to that moment in time, it could have been an abortion in their life that caused some of these issues that they're having, then we can help prevent this from happening to other women and men along the way.
So we have another big battle that we're facing now too, actually, in the pro-life movement. When Roe v. Wade was overturned, then they're like, oh, good, we won, we're cool.
Sure.
And we're like, no, not really. Now it goes to the states where it's a real problem. But the most insidious thing is this abortion pill. Yeah. And they can do it in silent. If you're in a state that doesn't allow abortions, you can get it in the mail. You said you can get it on Amazon. I mean, that's insanity.
It is. And there are groups, again, are part of a bigger strategy that have attempted to make this happen. I actually did some undercover work with my daughter with a group called Plan C. We went to the South by Southwest Festival, and for those that aren't familiar, it's a conference type for creatives. So think about music artists and actors and actresses. I mean, a lot of people, a lot of names you would probably recognize visit this, and there are tens of thousands of people that are there. And so I noticed that just after Roe was overturned, that they were showing a screening of this new film called Plan C. Now, Plan C, please understand, they're not a distributor of the abortion pill, but they are like a conduit system for the abortion pill. Their goal, go look on their website, it's scary. Their goal is to help get the abortion pill into anyone's hands across the United States, despite the laws for their state.
It's already happening.
Oh, it is.
So, I mean, what do you expect when you have, you know, an abortion truck outside of the DNC, right?
Absolutely.
We're normalizing these things. And as a mother of a teen girl, I'm just so scared and afraid with the whole situation happening with the abortion pills and just being everywhere and at the hands of anybody, pretty much.
You were talking about the boyfriends that are putting it
in their drinks.
Yes, they're putting in the girlfriend's drinks. Right. And I had to sit with my 17-year-old daughter and have this conversation because she started dating already. And I'm so scared because you never know. I mean, she's dating a good kid, but you never know. I mean, I had to jump like 3 different conversational hoops to get to the abortion pill issue, because it is an issue. You never know who's gonna put it in their drink or in their food. It's such a big problem right now.
It is, but how beautiful it is that you've had this conversation with your daughter.
Yeah,
I can't praise you enough for that. Yeah. Because they are pursuing our children. Yeah. I cannot stress that enough. They are after our kids, and I experienced it firsthand because my daughter and I went to that Plan C film screening and furiously taking notes all the way through it. And guys, also keep in mind, at this conference, they also had 9 to 10 workshops about how to get the abortion pill into people's hands with different types of femtech.
Were they sponsored?
Right. No. Cecile Richards was speaking there.
How do they make money if they're just giving it away?
Well, they are majorly funded. As a matter of fact, I'll give you an example of that in just a minute. So we watched this film.
Yes.
I'm taking notes. At the end of the film, throughout the film, there's a woman named Francine Cateau. She is the co-founder for Pro-Choice Responsible Research, right? Mm-hmm. She's also on New York's Population Council, and she's part of California's Commission for Cloning.
Okay.
All right.
This is
I've summed it up for you quite right.
Okay. And limiting the population.
Right. Like, there we go. You can see the bio, right? Yeah. If you Google her, you will follow a very dark path if you dare, right? So she's in this film, and she is shown going into different bathrooms and placing these little QR codes to get the abortion pill into women's hands on the bottom corners of mirrors in the bathrooms, on the back of toilet paper dispensers, right? Kind of genius, really, because janitors might not see that as easily. And then also she walks out and she grabs a copy of God's word that the Gideons had placed in this on top of a paper towel dispenser, and she pulls it down and she looks at the screen and she says, if they can do it, we can too. And she defaced that copy of God's word with that abortion pill sticker inside.
Unreal.
And the entire theater, guess what they did, ladies?
Applauded.
They applauded. They erupted in laughter. And in that moment, I felt like the heaviness of the evil that we were facing. Mm-hmm. So as soon as the show was over, we quickly left. And I actually, as I stepped out into the light, I felt like we were released from that darkness that we felt in that theater. And as soon as that happened, there was a woman that made a beeline for us, and she leaned in, and I thought we had been had. I thought at this point, like, they know that, because I was taking notes the whole time, right? I worked for Abby, like, I don't know what's happening. And so she leaned in and she said, join us for an after party. We need more young people. And she nodded to my then 15-year-old daughter.
Look at that.
And we took this QR code, we ran out to our rental car, and I looked at my daughter and I said, well, this could either go really well or really badly. What do you want to do? And she said, this is what we came here to do, Mom. So then I prayed. I prayed for wisdom, and I prayed for courage, and I prayed for strength for the both of us. And I registered us under a different name. and we went to this little after party. And we walked in, we were wanded by security guards, so we felt safe, right? Actually saw a news truck pulling out as we pulled in, so I thought, okay, this is documented, right? We weren't, nobody had like pulled us into this, right? Purposefully. We checked in under our different names, and I told my daughter, I said, get everything we possibly can. Anything they'll give to us for free. The first thing they give to us, when we're talking about how well-funded they are, a box of Plan B.
What?
They gave my daughter, my 15-year-old daughter, a box of Plan B. Guys, that's like a $40 giveaway, right? They are well funded. We have to do better, right? So we wanted to understand their messaging. So I had her grab everything. At one point, she actually leaned in and she grabbed what she thought was a container of mints on the table. The woman said, oh yes, please take those. Those are condoms. My daughter like immediately dropped them, like, what are we doing here? Like ran to the other end of the room, and I went and I told her, I said, honey, we're in the lion's den. Like we have to either stay in character or we got to get out. And she said, okay, I understand. And then we sat down, and this is where it'll get to the messaging. We were in the last row, probably from here to you. There's like probably 3 rows of chairs. There's probably only 40 of us in the room at this point. And there's an empty chair next to my daughter. And they are going to share their post-row strategy. So I want to take notes, but we're in the light this time. I'm probably not going to pull out my notebook or my phone, right? So I'm just trying to pay attention to what it is that they're sharing. They're telling women, don't talk to cops, right? They're trying to help them feel fearful of authority because they might get prosecuted, right? Because of the abortion pill. Again, the other side will stop at nothing to perpetuate lies. They also tell them that if they're having an abortion, if they have had an abortion and taken the abortion pill, just tell them they're having a miscarriage because the treatment's the same. I don't know about you ladies, but anytime I've ever been to the ER, they want to know what I had for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You cannot tell me that they wouldn't want to know why I am bleeding, right? And having taken the abortion pill, but they don't care about women. And I felt that heaviness that I felt in the theater when Francine, that woman that's the co-founder for Plan C, put that abortion pill sticker in that Bible. I felt that heaviness again, and I couldn't explain it, but I looked over, and on the other side, there was a woman who sat next to my daughter. And she leaned in, and she gave a very grandmotherly type smile. And my daughter locked eyes with me, and I was getting, like, I'm Mama Bear at this point, right? This woman's trying to befriend my daughter. It was Francine.
No.
Oh my gosh.
The co-founder of Plan C.
Wow.
Who have single-handedly been able to get the abortion pill into all of our communities. They have turned our homes into abortion clinics, ladies, into the pharmacy, our mailboxes into the pharmacy. That is what has happened. And when you were talking about what you shared with your daughter, I'm so grateful because that's the thing. My daughter knew who it was. I was trying to tell her, like mouth to her, like, and she's like, I know. I know. Again, 15 years old, she knew because we had talked about it. She'd been paying attention. We had done the education. And that's the thing is when no one is beyond the redemption of Christ. No one. I'm not trying to say that this woman herself is evil, but what she represents is, right? And when we can identify evil for what it truly is, we have the power to change things. So when we're sitting here talking right now about what we can do better in the pro-life movement, why is it getting worse? Well, evil shape shifts. And it has definitely, for so long, we saw Planned Parenthood as the enemy, right? And don't get me wrong, Planned Parenthood still doesn't do great things.
Right.
But the truth of the matter is that it's a spirit of death. It's a culture of death that is the enemy. And so when we identify for what it truly is, we have the power to change things. That's what we do at Vitae Foundation. We use that messaging to understand the fears that men and women have about pregnancy and adoption and abortion. And then we learn how to communicate with them. And we work with influencers, but we also work with pregnancy centers all over the country. And I would challenge anyone who's listening today to make sure this one easy way that they can help is to know where their local pregnancy center is.
Yes, and support them.
Support them. I was a pregnancy center director. We were talking about being in this for 15 years. That's part of where I got my start way back when. I was a pregnancy center director north of Kansas City, and it absolutely changed my life. Changed my life to see those miracles take place all the time. And if if we work together with our local pregnancy centers, but also if we can embrace compassion and grace through the research and through the messages, and you can find more information about our
tell
studies.
Us about that.
Yeah, vitaeresearchinstitute.org. You can find our latest studies, and you can also go to vitaefoundation.com. And for those of you that are wondering, Vitae is Latin for life. So VITAE foundation.org. But we would love to be able to connect with you and share more about the research.
And you have videos,
We
all
do.
kinds of different things
Yeah,
there.
we have all kinds
that
of
people can
resources
share.
for people so that it's tangible,
Yeah.
right? It's not this, I mean, don't get me wrong. Research is great. Surveys, polling, that's great, right? That's not what we do. We do messaging. We want to understand the heart of the matter on how to move the needle and, again, get people to get off the fence. Another illustration that I give oftentimes is that so many issues, we tend to position ourselves on the fence because it feels compassionate, feels friendly, feels like we can maybe build bridges. But the truth of the matter is the fence belongs to Satan.
Sure does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in this case, the fence definitely does.
Aside from the fact
Well,
that
we're
you've depressed me, you've actually empowered me.
Yes.
No, it's good to know the messaging, then to know the research, then you know how to better message. And I want to win this battle. So.
I'd say it's messaging and making sure that we're pushing our elected representatives so that they can have the courage to fight back.
Hold them accountable.
Exactly.
Hold them accountable.
We're taking back the message because life is precious.
That's right.
And so we're going to be out there sharing some of the data
Love it.
that you
Love it.
have
And help
for
us get the message to men.
Yes.
Right? That I'll support you no matter what you choose, even though they feel like that is the compassionate thing to say. It's not. It's really not. And we need to let our young people know that.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yes, thanks for
Thank you
having
for
me.
what you're doing. We so appreciate the fight for life because obviously that is so precious to us as moms.
It's an honor.
All right, moms, we'll be right back after this break.
It's hard work being a mom today. So it is very important to have an organization that really cares about moms.
The role of parent is the most powerful position in the world because we've been entrusted with the souls of our future leaders. And if you're wondering how you could really wrap your mind around these principles and how you can put feet to your faith, I would definitely recommend that you find out more about, support, and get involved with Moms for America.
The Herzog Foundation exists to catalyze and accelerate the development of quality, Christ-centered K-12 education so that families and culture flourish. To do so, we've created comprehensive programs designed for Christian schools across the nation. One of those programs is found at readlion.com. The Lion carries news articles covering issues especially related to the education of children. These are timely, critical, must-read articles for families, educators, and leaders. Another program is the Herzog Foundation Institute, where we provide training for Christian educators led by national thought leaders in subjects such as marketing, donor development, and culture building. All training events are fully funded by the Herzog Foundation. And finally, with new Christian schools popping up all over the country, we've created a free online resource to help with the process. HF Schoolbox provides lessons and free mentorship to help launch groups navigate the startup process every step of the way. We're the Herzog Foundation. You can find out more at herzogfoundation.com.
There is power in being a mom because we truly care. Nobody's going to care more about your children than you. And that's what this group is about, is real women getting together to fight real battles for our country.
Moms for America is a national movement of moms reclaiming our culture for truth, family, freedom, and the Constitution.
And I will tell you, I'm a journalist, but I am a mama bear. And I am a mama bear till the last breath in my body. And that's the most important thing I've ever done with my life.
Never, never underestimate the mother who's protecting her child. She will outfight fear. She will outlast danger. And she will outlove the world. And you surely do not mess with Mama Bear.
You can't push anything on our kids. We will stand up for our kids no matter what the consequences may be.
Moms for America is one of the most important organizations in saving our republic.
There are eyes, there are ears, and they're the most fierce fighters for our kids that we will ever know.
Every mission has two parts, those who give and those who do. And when we come together, we are stronger together in fulfilling that mission. An investment in Moms for America is an investment in the future. And we literally hold the future of America in our hands.
Well, we had some great discussions here today.
Heavy discussion.
Yeah, and what was the golden thread through it all is that kids and their lives matter.
Yeah.
Whether it's their littlest lives and they're dealing with emotions or tragedy, or right to being born.
Yeah, and we need to talk to our kids.
Right.
We need to prepare them. We don't live in a world anymore where everything in society is supporting us as families, as parents.
That's right.
As mothers. We are now going against the flow in everything. Everything is against us that used to be supporting us. So that puts us in a higher position to be that warning signal for our kids. Start early. Have the conversations, because if we don't, somebody else is, and we may not like what they're telling them.
You have to get earlier and earlier.
Yes,
You've got
that's
to
why the
talk
Moodsters
about
is so great.
so many things.
You can
with
talk to
your
them about their
kids.
emotions early and get that connection, but it's never too late. And what you did talking to your daughter, that
Yeah.
we need to have those conversations.
I think moms across the country, they just need to be more cognizant in not only how much time they're spending on their electronics, but also how much time they're spending in their electronics while they're in their bedroom. We don't see our kids outside of their bedrooms anymore.
Oh,
and that's a problem.
Yeah.
And, one thing, too, to keep in mind is that the United States of America, it's the most medicated country in the world.
Sure is.
And nowadays with young people, especially teenagers, you take them to the doctor for whatever reason, and there's medication right after that appointment. In addition to that, they're glued to their cell phones.
Yeah.
So they're getting medicated, and they have a smartphone, and they're getting stuck in their bedroom, and that is their lives, and we're losing them.
Yeah, and the parents have to really, it's you've got to be on the battlefield 24/7. There is not, you
That's the
cannot
world we live in now.
take a moment off. You do when you retire. That's about it. But when you're in those years,
I don't know. I think retirement is
Right.
death now. Because now I'm helping my grandkids, and you want to protect
sure
the
do.
innocence of who they are, and it's getting harder and harder. But I also think that there's an issue of confidence. I think that parents, especially moms, dads are doing their thing, for largely providing for the family, and not that the women aren't doing that as well, but somehow, regardless of what we're doing as women, the largest responsibility of raising those children falls on us. And I think moms have a major confidence struggle. So again, that's why we do shows like this. That's why Moms for America exists, so that we can help boost your confidence and help you realize that you are the expert that your children need.
You're the greatest influencer in your children's lives, and don't let the government or society tell you any different, because we are the ones that raise them, love them, teach them, train them, pray with them, all those things that make motherhood amazing and raise our families. So
Yep. We have to also remember that it is our responsibility.
It is.
They're our kids, and we have to be there for them no matter what.
Yes.
We
All
can't
right.
forget that. So talk to your kids, moms.
Yes. And again, check out Moms for America at momsforamerica.us. We have all of these great resources to help you on your journey through motherhood. We're there for you, mamas. All right, ladies, it was a great show. Keep the moods high, and keep praying for life too, right?
I'm going to stay pink.
All right. Thanks for joining us on the Mom View. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next week.